My name is Arielle Thompson, and the afternoon my husband put me and our newborn out of our house. The sunlight poured down like the world had no idea what's happening. Stay with me as I share how this unfolded. And if these stories move you, please support the channel by liking, subscribing, and sharing with someone you care about. It truly helps more than you know. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. It was just past midday in Willow Crest, a quiet suburb outside Atlanta. Not a cloud in the sky. No noise on the street. I stood on the front steps of the home I had built with my husband, Damon, for 7 years. My 4-week-old baby girl, Nova, pressed against my chest. Damon stood in the doorway, arms crossed, looking at me the way someone looks at a package sent to the wrong address.
"You packed your things," he said.
"You signed the papers. It's time to leave." I kept staring at him, sure there had to be a joke coming. "We just had a baby," I said. "I don't even have anywhere to go yet.
"Just give me a little time."
He lifted one shoulder, uninterested. "You're capable. You'll work it out." Then, like it barely mattered, he added, "And don't bother checking the shared account. I transferred everything this morning. I need it for the wedding." My thoughts stumbled. "The what?" That was when she stepped into view behind him.
Kira.
Warm brown skin, gloss lips, perfect lashes, fresh nails, bare feet on my floor. She wore Damon's shirt like it belonged to her. "Our wedding," she said, smiling wide.
6 weeks from now.
Riverside View Gardens. Outside by the water. Big crowd. Sun everywhere. "It's going to look amazing." I pulled Nova closer. "Damon," I said, "we're still married." He smiled slowly. "We're not. You signed today. You remember. You did not even read most of it." My mind jumped to the blue folder he slid across the table beside my untouched breakfast. No conversation. No pause. Just sign. I had barely slept, nerves stretched thin, his voice raised and sharp. I signed to make it stop. Now I was standing in the cost of that moment. Kira stepped nearer, her eyes scanning me. My unhealed body, the stretched waist, the stained pants, the worn hoodie. "You really let yourself slip," she said softly, cruel underneath. "You should be grateful to me. I'm doing you a favor." Before I could react, she leaned forward and spat against my cheek. I did not move. The only sound left was Nova's quiet cry against my chest. Then I heard Damon laugh. I wiped my face with my sleeve, my hands shaking so hard I nearly dropped the diaper bag. "So, you're throwing your wife and baby out so you can marry your side chick?" I asked quietly. He shrugged. "You'll survive. Go cry to your mom." "My parents are dead," I whispered. "Then you should hurry," he said flatly. 30 minutes before I changed the locks. I packed fast. 2 duffel bags. Clothes for Nova. Diapers.
Formula.
1 change for me. And the knitted blanket my grandmother made before she died. Selena hovered nearby, commenting on my body, saying no man wants a broke woman with a baby. When I stepped onto the porch with the bags and Nova in my arms, the sun was still blazing, but everything felt black. My car was gone. "Where's my car?" "Dropped it at the dealership," Damon said without looking up. "Titles in my name." My phone had no service. He'd cut my line. My bank app showed 0. In one day, he took my husband, my home, my car, and our savings. "Enjoy your independence," he said, closing the door. So I walked. Bright afternoon sun. Quiet street. A baby on my chest, and everything I owned on my shoulders. Past neat lawns and kids' bikes. Past neighbors who looked away. I stopped under the awning of a closed cafe, arms burning, feet aching. Nova slept peacefully, fingers curled into my shirt. That's when I remembered the envelope. 2 days earlier, A thick cream-colored letter arrived. My name typed neatly, a Houston law firm, and beneath it, my grandmother's last name, Harris. I'd set it aside to open later. Later never came. The last time I remembered that envelope, it was sitting on the counter beside the divorce papers. My phone buzzed once more before dying. An unknown number. A photo loaded. Damon and Selena in my kitchen. She held up a ring. His hands rested on her waist. The message read, "Thanks for the wedding fun, big girl. Hope the pavement feels nice." My throat tightened. Tears burned. Then something else surfaced beneath the hurt. Anger. And under that, my grandmother's voice. Evelyn Porter raised me in a tiny upstairs apartment in South Dallas. With worn furniture and curtains she patched herself. She used to talk about trucks, warehouses, contracts across the South. I thought they were just as Selena's. She would tap my head and say, "Harris women don't collapse. We pause. We plan. Then we move." I remembered a flyer I'd seen for a women's resource center a couple miles away. 2 miles felt endless with a newborn and 2 bags. But I had nothing else. So I adjusted Nova against my chest, tightened my grip, and walked back into the sun. Eventually, a glass front building came into view. Maple Women's Resource and Family Center. Inside was warm and alive. Kids laughing. Coffee in the air. A woman in a mustard cardigan looked at me once and said, "Baby, come sit down. You've been through something." That's when I broke. They gave us a small room, a crib, food, light through the window. They asked if I was safe, if I had family, money. The answers were no. Then I mentioned the envelope, a Houston law firm, my grandmother's last name, Harris. The woman's eyes sharpened. "You still have it?" "No," I said, "but I remember the name." She slid a charger toward my dead phone. "Then we find them," she said. "Your grandmama didn't hire lawyers for nothing." When my phone powered back on, she found the number. I dialed with shaking hands. "Good afternoon, Miles Carter and Finch." "Hi," I said softly. "My name is Arielle Thompson. I believe you sent a letter about my grandmother, Evelyn Porter." I was placed on hold. Then a steady voice came through. "Miss Thompson, this is Jonathan Reed." He paused. "I'm very glad you called. Your grandmother spoke of you often." My chest tightened. "You knew her?" "I managed Miss Harris's affairs for years," he said. "She loved you deeply. And she left something for you and your child." He asked if I could come to Houston. I told him I didn't even have bus money. He didn't hesitate. "That's already covered. Your grandmother planned for this." 2 days later, under a sharp Texas sun, I walked into a glass tower downtown with Nova against my chest. In a bright conference room, Miles opened a folder with my name on it. "Miss Thompson," he said gently, "your grandmother was the majority owner of Harris Freight and Logistics. She lived modestly by choice. Her trust activates when you had your first child." My mouth went dry. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said, sliding a paper forward, "you are now the primary beneficiary of a trust valued at approximately $3.1 billion. The same week my husband left me broke with a baby, I became a billionaire. He thought he erased me. He had no idea what he walked away from. That night, in my grandmother's hidden Houston townhouse, I cried again. Not from pain. From knowing she never left me unprotected. By morning, I was done mourning Damon. If my grandmother built all this for me, I was going to honor it. The next weeks moved fast. Sunlight woke me early. Meetings filled my days. Miles walked me through warehouses, contracts, investments, and companies quietly carrying the Harris name. And for the first time, I wasn't surviving anymore. I was stepping into what was always meant to be mine. I started noticing my grandmother's fingerprints everywhere. On truck doors, on old invoices, on properties quietly folded into companies she owned. Her legacy had been hiding in plain sight. Miles introduced a small team. One of them was Asia. Mid-30s, braids, glasses, all focus. "I'm your filter," she said. "Nothing reaches you unless it's worth your time." While I learned the business, I rebuilt myself. Therapy in a bright office with a woman who asked questions I'd avoided. Why I shrank. Why I mistook erasure for love. A trainer came twice a week. We worked under open sky, while Nova slept inside. It wasn't about bouncing back. It was about standing solid. Slowly, my body changed. More importantly, my posture did. One afternoon, Asia slid her tablet across the table. "You need to see this." Damon and Selena, smiling by a lake. Wedding countdown. Lakeside Garden Pavilion. Asia tapped the screen. "That resort is partially owned by you." I smiled. "Say nothing. Let him keep playing." Behind the scenes, Miles handled the damage. Drained accounts. Rushed divorce. Financial abuse. Quiet filings. No noise. Then an invite arrived. A celebration of love. Damon asked for peace. No apology. Just performance. Asia called. "So, are you going?" I looked out at the sun and remembered my grandmother's rule.
Pause. Plan. Move.
I typed back 3 words. "I'll be there." The wedding day dawned flawless.
Clear sky.
Bright sun. Not a cloud in sight. The lawn at Briarwood looked unreal. White chairs lined up by the lake. Flowers framing the altar. Guests drifting with champagne. Music floating soft in the air. The photographer glided through it all, catching smiles. Our SUV rolled in quietly. When I stepped out, the sun hit me like a spotlight. Emerald dress. Calm face. Diamonds catching light. Asia followed a step behind, security blending in like guests. Heads snapped around. Whispers rippled. People stared the way they do when old Selena's stopped making sense. Damon's mother saw me first and froze. Then Damon turned. He stiffened, eyes wide, like the air left his body. "You actually came," he said. "You invited me." I replied evenly. "I show up when my name's called." Before he could speak, Selena stormed down the aisle, bouquet shaking, dress brushing the grass. "Why is she here?" she snapped. "Because you invited her," someone muttered. "You've done enough," Selena hissed. "You can leave." I tilted my head. "I won't be long." Just a few words before the vows. Asia placed a wireless mic in my hand. The music cut. Conversation stopped. Phones lifted. "Good afternoon," I said, my voice steady. "I'll keep this brief. Everyone deserves the truth." Nervous laughter. Silence. 6 weeks ago, this man put me and our 4-week-old daughter out of our home. He emptied our savings, cut my phone, took my car, and told me to figure it out. Gasp spread. I ended up at a women's center with nothing. I continued. While there, I returned a letter sent to my old address. I paused. That's how I learned I'm the heir to the Harris Legacy Trust. The crowd shifted. Harris Freight and Logistics, I said. Warehouses across several states. Those trucking contracts? I said. They belong to my grandmother. She placed everything in a trust. For me and my daughter. I let the silence stretch. The current value of that trust is about $3.1 billion. The lawn erupted. Gasps. Shouts. A glass shattered. Even the officiant looked stunned. Selena froze. Damon swayed like the ground betrayed him. In the past 6 weeks, I continued, My legal team has filed claims against Damon for stealing marital assets and hiding funds during the divorce. We've also filed against Selena. Spitting in someone's face counts as assault here. 2 men in suits stepped forward, serving papers under the open sky. I wasn't done. Another detail you might not know, I said. This pavilion belongs to Briarwood Hospitality Group. I smiled. And its largest individual owner is me. The crowd exploded again. Phones rose higher. Faces lit up with shock and thrill. So yes, I added calmly, they invited me to celebrate their love at a venue partly owned by the woman they put out with a newborn. I turned to Damon. You told me I'd be nothing without you. I paused. Seems you had it wrong. I handed the mic back. Congratulations, I said lightly. Enjoy the sunshine and the story you'll take home. Then I walked away, past the flowers, past the whispers, past the man who thought shutting a door ended my life. The clip went viral. People called me fearless,
Strong.
unbothered. Messages poured in wishing me and my baby well. But the real satisfaction came later. Damon left voicemails, apologies, excuses, talk of stress, talk of fixing things now that I was on his level. I never called back. We were never equals. He was sinking under debt and court dates. I was building boards, closing deals, and signing my name in rooms filled with glass and sunlight. I let my attorney handle him. The stolen money came back with penalties. His company folded when its biggest client walked. Selena faced charges and mandatory counseling. It didn't erase the past, but it drew a line under it. I once thought payback would feel like that moment by the lake. Mic in hand, sun on my shoulders, their image cracking in real time. And yes, it felt good. But the real satisfaction came quietly. It came when I sat across from Miss Denise again at the Women's Center. Not as someone needing help, but as someone offering it. I want to expand this place, I said. More rooms, childcare, legal help, job training, and I want it named the Lever House. She cried and said my grandmother would be proud. It felt like holding Nova on a balcony at sunset, knowing she would never beg for safety. Like sitting in a park at midday, watching her laugh at ducks while the sun warmed our skin. A woman once stared at me and said, "You look familiar." I smiled. I get that a lot. The internet had moved on. And for once, so had I. I was just a black mother in a sundress, living in peace. I used to think power meant making people regret hurting you. Now I know it's this. Being so grounded, so secure, that they can't even reach your shadow. Damon thought the day he threw me out was the day he ended me. It was the day I finally stepped into the life my grandmother built waiting for me. My name is Arielle Thompson. I am a mother, a Harris woman. I own my story, my future, and myself. And that was all the revenge I ever needed. If stories like this matter to you, please like, comment, and subscribe for more real-life stories about love, legacy, and finding your voice.